what has happened so far with the officials coming in space to the opposition and really showing them that, you know, this thing needs to be done. We're okay with it. Government is okay with it. The international organizations are okay with it.
That's probably one of the most important things in our country at this point in time. You know that the head of the CFATF and the CEO came into the country and explained to all and sundry the dangers that Guyana face by being blacklisted, if we become blacklisted, and how much it can harm Guyana. The fear also is that it will affect the rest of the Caribbean. But again, we see that the opposition totally disregarding this. This bill, this is an anti-corruption, anti-money laundering bill. The opposition keeps talking about corruption, and here they are trying to knock down a bill that will fight corruption. Clearly, they are displaying where they stand on this issue. This is a bill to fight against money laundering, and we know that a lot of drug money, they are laundered in many countries, and this is a bill to fight that kind of thing. So who is the opposition defending when they are now going against this bill? They are defending, objectively they are defending the drug lords everywhere. They are opening our country to serious danger because this bill has a result of international agreement in order that all our country can have similar legislation to fight against drug trafficking and money laundering. And that is why the sanctions are so severe. And the opposition is now opening our country to a lot of dangers by not wanting to pass this legislation, going against all the a bill that we already have that we know is CFATF compliant. And in order that they want to turn our country into a haven for drug money, is that their intention? They want to make us a drug haven, and they talk about that we haven't had any kind of arrest and so forth, but so too is the rest of the Caribbean. And moreover, there's very few very few cases in the Caribbean. That is why this new amendment is here, to strengthen the law so that this now will become a factor in trying to capture people who are involved in drugs and money laundering in the whole issue. So the opposition clearly, while they speak and make all kind of wild accusations, we see by their actions that they are putting our country in danger, exposing it to drugs, and in fact, objectively they're helping drug lords in the whole region by creating a weakness in our legislation that can make our country non-compliant and allow drug people to launder money here. We are fighting against these things. We are trying to clean the society. This is a bill that is fighting corruption. The same thing they talk about corruption. But here they are fighting against an important measure, a very important measure that will fight corruption. The opposition is now supporting corruption by going against this bill. So I find it extremely disturbing that, look at the rest of the Caribbean. All the rest of the Caribbean, in every single other jurisdiction in the Caribbean, the opposition parties supported this bill because they took a national position. They took a patriotic position. Our opposition seems incapable of taking any type of patriotic position to defend the interests of the people of Guyana. This is ridiculous, and this is most outrageous in the behavior that we are witnessing from an opposition who are deliberately and knowingly exposing the people of this country to difficulties.
Mr. President, the latest development at the level of the Select Committee, where the bill is right now, the committee has completed a review of the opposition's amendments. The AG has proposed counter amendments in an effort, according to him, to seek a compromise. Can you comment on government's continued attempts to reach a compromise?
We have no other option but try to work to get an agreement. However, this agreement is not that any agreement we can make. Right. The agreement that we can make, and the only agreement we can have, it must be CFATF compliant. So I am saying, because of the danger, the impending danger that faces us, we already have a bill that CFATF says is compliant to their regulation. The FATF agree that it is compliant. That's the whole international community agrees that this is this bill will make us compliant. Yet we see that they're making all kind of the proposal that they have made. The danger with their proposal and their amendment is they can make what is compliant now, the law that was passed in 2009, that we were compliant with those laws. They can make that law now uncompliant. So that is the danger of this. There seems hell-bent on damaging the reputation of this country by making our laws non-compliant with the rest of the international community.
The point I was trying to make was the compromise. Government's continued push to seek a compromise where the opposition is clearly not budging on their positions.
But I don't think that this is also the kindest thing I can say about this. It is a total irresponsible behavior on the part of the opposition.
Can I move away from seeking that?
All right. Could we have? You spoke about it already. The Walter Rodney Commission of Inquiry.
Well, I see the inquiry is going on. I think I will reserve my comments for later on. Okay. As far as that, the committee is doing its work, and I am happy that people are coming forward and they are going into what seems to be at this point in time a thorough type of investigation, thorough probe.
Can you comment on the assent of the 2014 Appropriation Act?
Well, that is another case of total. Again, this is another area where the opposition has showed themselves to be totally anti-developmental. They seems to be attacking anything that can help to advance the economy and the social developments in our society. Now, we all know in this country that one of the poorest areas in Guyana is people who reside in the interior. And we have done, since we have been in government, a lot to help the Amerindian community, the interior community in general, to come out of poverty. We have advanced education, health, water supply, trying to create conditions for their economic development. This budget, the Amerindian Development Fund, which was aimed at increasing the capacity of the various villages in our country, that has been targeted for cut. Now, obviously, it seems to me that the opposition feel that by keeping people in poverty, it will be better for them. That's the only kind of conclusion that they come to. The demands of many of the villages right across the country is to have the demarcation of their lands, to have a clear demarcation of the lands. The money to do that, which we put in the budget, has been cut again by the opposition. Cut again by the opposition in a totally callous way. The airstrips, which is so vital for the development in the interior community, because many areas are inaccessible other than by air, and for emergencies and so forth. You know, we spend millions of dollars every year for emergency, flying people out to accidents, snake bites, and so forth. Again, they have cut the budget that included fixing airstrips in our society, in those communities. And they are totally undevelopmental in their attack against the Amerindian community. I don't know what the interior communities have did to these people, that they have been so vicious in their attack to cut areas, to buy tractors, to help their productivity, to help their capacity to do things on a bigger scale. All of this is to help the village economy to develop. All of those things have been cut by the opposition. Clearly, they have an agenda to try to, when they were in government, they drove our country down to poverty, and now in opposition, they seem determined to do the same thing.
The cuts have already been made, the budget has been assented to, the act has been assented to. What is the next move now? There's talk of elections. At the last post-cabinet press briefing, Dr. Laundering was saying that elections will not be the only way to go. But on the street, the average man is saying, well, if the opposition is being so difficult to work with, why not move to elections?
Well, that you can't take that off the table. You can't take that option off the table at all, because this kind of behavior is driving. This is not what we would want. We would have preferred if the opposition was giving a little cooperation, we could move this country forward together. But we have had no single cooperation over the last 2.5 years. We have had no help from the opposition in supporting any of the developmental projects in the country, despite the fact that we consulted with them extensively. I even told them when we consulted with them and gave them all the information about the Amila Falls, I said, if there is any other project that you have difficulty with, tell me and I will make a presentation to you and give all the information that you need. But they don't want that. They want to snipe in the corner at all these projects that will have transformative effects on our country.
Okay, can we, no, go ahead.
Mr. President, you, on a lighter note, your visit to Mexico at the summit, can you give us an update as it is?
Well, I thought it was a very successful visit with CARICOM. Most of the agreements that we had in the past, there have been action towards implementation. The biggest, there have been some developments as far as transportation is concerned. You know that we have Copa Airlines will be coming into our country from the end of July, I think June or July. They will start flying here. We have another flight in Cell coming in from Curacao. We have Conviesa coming in here, and also we know that Colombia will be flying to Barbados. And so we have seen a lot of that. What we are now talking about, and all the region recognize that there is need also to improve maritime transport, so that we can move goods in bigger quantities and move people as well. So I thought it was a very good meeting. I think that's I'm reflecting the consensus of CARICOM heads, that we thought it was a good meeting that we had in Mexico the last weekend.
If you go ahead.
Well, I was I'd like to note, I understand that you stopped in at the E&R Robinson's funeral. Could I just have a brief comment on your thoughts of what he was to the Caribbean?
Well, he certainly was a pro-Caribbean man. He certainly had some principles that he stood for. For instance, as you know, that he was one of the people who was the main driver in establishing the International Criminal Court. And that is a signal achievement of him. And I think also that he distinguished himself when he was Prime Minister of the country during the attempted coup, when he took no compromise with the coup leaders, even though he was a prisoner, and they were threatening him with death. In the face of that, he showed enormous courage. So I think that in those areas he distinguished himself, and I think in the process he not only distinguished Trinidad and Tobago, but he distinguished himself as a Caribbean man.
If I could go back to the CARICOM heads meeting, can you expand on what was the takeaway in terms of agriculture?
Yeah, there is a growing recognition that for food security, that it is very important for us to have some more concentration and focus on agricultural development. In my speech, I even spoke about the time has probably come when we should even start thinking about some level of specialization of the various countries in the region so that we can increase our production. But we also recognize that that will only become a reality as the communication and transportation sector becomes stronger. They're all linked together. Because right now it's probably cheaper for many Caribbean countries to import their food from the north because of the connections than from with evil countries in the region. Therefore, it has been recognized that these are all things that are linked together. It doesn't stand alone. So if we are going to expand the efficiency of our agriculture, we must also consider expanding and improving our transportation, our contacts with both air and maritime transportation as well. And we also have to think about using more and more science and technology in agriculture itself, so that there has been a traditional belief that agriculture is just sheer labor and non-skill, but it takes a lot of technology. Now there's a lot of technology in agriculture, and that is what I think that we have to also change the image of agriculture, of being just labor intensive, in which low-skilled people are involved, to pointing out now that for production and productivity to increase, we have to have an educated farmer who would be au fait with technology and who would be au fait with using technology to enhance productivity within the agricultural sector itself.
The Jackdear Initiative, can you say if that was addressed in any way?
Well, when you speak about agriculture in the Caribbean, the program that has become known as the Jackdear Initiative was a program developed to increase agricultural production throughout the region, and that is the same kind of driving principles that continues to guide CARICOM as far as agricultural production is concerned. And then you can see some benefit, some of the implementation of that, or some of the things that they were trying to do. For instance, the huge investment we have from a Barbados investor in the south of our country, in the Rupununi area. And we know now there's a strong interest by Trinidadians in order to develop have agricultural development here in Guyana as well. So the initiative is alive and well. All right?
I have one last question. It's a touchy issue. The LEAD project. At the last post-cabinet press briefing, Dr. Lunchin said at the meeting with Ambassador Hartneham, the ambassador committed to providing official response by the U.S. State Department and the U.S. State on their position on halting the LEAD project. Mr. Bradbury's visa and his work permit were revoked. The opposition is saying that there's going to be a tit-for-tat situation from the U.S. Can you comment on?
Well, I hope that they wouldn't take that kind of position, because I think that they ought to respect the sovereignty of our country. And I'm surprised by some of the statements that the opposition have been making, which in some way to me, they seem to be ready to compromise even on the whole question of our sovereignty and integrity. This was a program that the government never agreed with. And we were never consulted. We were not part of any forum to develop this program. So therefore, I think it's a whole question of we don't want this project. We don't want this project in our society. The totality of the project we do not need in our country at this point in time. And that is why we took the unusual position that we have taken.
Can you comment on the state or the strength of Guyana's relations with the U.S.?
Oh, we have excellent relations with the United States. This one here, we have very good cooperation with them in many, many other areas of activities that we've had. In the security sector, they have helped us quite a lot in strengthening our security. Our cooperation is very good with them. We have no other issue with the United States government except on this issue, in which the government of Guyana had absolutely no part in framing and being in any part of it. And we refuse to accept an imposition on us on that regard. All right? Good.